just keeps on rolling in for the New Orleans Saints. And we're going to break down what I mean right here, right now, here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trace Gerard. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. But ladies and gentlemen, the head coaching vacancies are so interesting. There's a lot of them. I mean, you had up to 10 at one point when I guess not technically 10 because, you had 10 jobs open up at some point, one point or another during this offseason. Right now, you have 8 vacancies that are currently open with the Buffalo Bills recently firing their head coach. So now you have an opportunity to have another spot get filled in a very desirable situation with Josh Allen in Buffalo. You also have the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Las Vegas Raiders, Tennessee Titans, Miami Dolphins, and the Arizona Cardinals. 2 spots have been filled for the head coaching vacancies. The New York Football Giants, they hired John Harbaugh, the former head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, and those pesky Atlanta Falcons have hired Kevin Stefanski in a move that has absolutely split the fan base in Atlanta. Some people are very, very upset about it. Some people are very, very happy about it. I do know that Falcons fans overall are in shambles, and for that reason, that's good news. Just sprinkling a little bit on top. Now, thank God the New Orleans Saints are not involved in this coaching carousel. I just got to say, when you look at all of the teams that are available and you look at all of the situations that are around, I got to just give a lot of love and credit to the New Orleans Saints for getting their situation figured out last offseason, not hanging around and trying to mess around with Dennis Allen another year. No, fire him. Get it done with. Start over from scratch this offseason or last offseason. And then this year, you can really focus on building things up the right way. You have a lot of interesting situations, and you have a not very large list of candidates that are super intriguing. So I got to start off by saying, I'm just glad that we are not involved in this coaching carousel because, to be totally honest, the Saints would be having a tough time being competitive in this current situation if they were looking for a head coaching spot. Now, friendly reminder to subscribe to Saints Now by Chat Sports. We provide daily videos for 100% free by Saints fans, for Saints fans, news, rumors, updates every single day, multiple videos a day sometimes, and we also do regular live shows that is all interactive and all free. So join the over 54,000 members of the Golden Gang and subscribe for 100% free. Now, on top of the fact that the New Orleans Saints are not in a coaching carousel that's competitive, oversaturated, and lacks a list of interesting candidates, you have minimal offseason distractions. This is really, really good news because you don't have to spend the entire offseason working through drama, working through dilemmas, working through unhappy players. You don't have to spend a ton of time trying to find the head coach because then you can figure out the quarterback and then you can figure out all of this and you got to get the coordinators in place and you don't have any distractions. The main distractions and decisions you have to make are Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. Do you bring him back? Do they retire? What do you do with Alontae Taylor? And what do you do with the 8th overall selection? The focus this offseason can be around roster construction. It can be around development of players. It can be around building around Tyler Shough. The focus of this offseason can be hyper-focused, and it can be locked in on the things that matter rather than distractions that will be ultimately that'll ultimately hurt the goals and the aspirations of the New Orleans Saints in the 2026 season. And I think they have a great offseason ahead. I think you have a really, really good situation. You have the 8th overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. So you can go and get a game-changing player, a blue-chip type guy, and you can get somebody who can make an immediate impact on a very cheap contract. You also are only roughly $20 million over the cap, and, that's we're still over the cap by a decent amount. It's easy to get cap compliant. You make a couple of moves. Hell, if Demario Davis and Cam Jordan decide to run it back, you can do stuff with their contracts, and that takes away a majority of your negative cap space. And on top of that, you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, so you can spend assets, you can spend money, you can bring in players that will all be beneficial and complementary to your current quarterback and to your current situation. This just feels like the best situation New Orleans has been in for a very, very long time. And I got more reasons of good news and more news that keeps on rolling in for us Saints fans. I mean, guys, it's a good time to be a Saints fan. But I got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it's always good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get in on the football action before next season. I know, really, really sad. Very limited amount of games of football left, so make sure you download PrizePicks today and use our promo code CLNS to get $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And if you're missing your fantasy team, my league is already over, but with PrizePicks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft to keep playing fantasy. PrizePicks lets you play fantasy football every week, even in the playoffs. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projections every week. No draft required. For the playoff games this week, I'm going to pick one player from each team, trying to make some money this week. $20 wins 160 if you follow this lineup. Jarrett Stidham, interception. That's going to happen. Ramondre Stevenson, rushing yards, taking the more. Puka Nacua, end zone, he's going to find it at least once. And Sam Darnold, I don't know about the passing yards, but I like to live dangerously. So I'm rolling with nothing but the mores because I like to have a little bit of fun. And you can too with PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use promo code CLNS. You'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All that information is clickable in the comments and description of this video. Reminder, use our promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Now, another piece of good news for the New Orleans Saints is that they are not at all involved in this coaching carousel. They are not at all involved in the coaching cycle. Like, your coaching staff is still in place, and I know for a team that almost to a fault overly values continuity, this is a situation where continuity is going to be extremely beneficial. And that word may give you some PTSD, but I'm here to tell you, when you have the coaching staff currently in place with Brandon Staley as your defensive mind, Kellen Moore as your offensive mind, you're setting yourself up for not a lot of changes and not a lot of, drastic. I mean, the only other good word is changes. You don't have to set yourself up for drastic changes to either side of the football. You can keep your coordinators in place, and you can keep the nucleus of this team intact. And guess what? The coaching staff is not only in a really good situation from a coordinator standpoint, but also from the positional coaches as well. Fun fact, the New Orleans Saints will have 7 coaches on the American team's coaching staff for the Senior Bowl. Joel Thomas will be the head coach. Peter Sermon will also be a coordinator. Scott Tolzien and Kyle Wilbur will also be coordinators for the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. So you're getting to get a hands-on look from a ton of different perspectives of some of the top talent in the draft. So not only is it beneficial that you have your coaching staff in place so you don't have to worry about losing a defensive coordinator and having to rehaul the defense. You don't have to worry about losing your offensive play caller and completely changing the playbook for second-year quarterback Tyler Shough. You have a lot of guys that are on the coaching staff that are a little bit lower on the Saints coaching staff, but making a really large impact based off of the opportunities they have this offseason. Like I said, I believe for the New Orleans Saints, continuity will be beneficial this offseason. That's a word that has been thrown around the New Orleans Saints front office and the franchise far too much. But I am a firm believer when you talk about continuity in the context of the New Orleans Saints entering the 2026 season and operating throughout the 2026 offseason, you don't have to focus on a ton of changes. You're not losing coordinators to other spots for head coaching vacancies. You're not losing positional coaches to coordinator roles. You get to keep the nucleus intact, and you get to keep this thing moving the way it ended last offseason with all the forward momentum and take that into next year, this offseason, training camp, and everything in between. Brandon Staley even talked about being a head coach once again, and it's definitely a dream of his, and obviously I don't blame him for wanting an opportunity to be a head coach. But with that said, Brandon Staley says, I think I'm living the dream right now. Being the Saints defensive coordinator is one of the top jobs in the NFL, and I'm very lucky to be here, and I love this franchise. Guys, this is a really, really good situation for New Orleans. Brandon Staley isn't going to be a team that general managers and front offices are foaming at the mouth to hire anytime soon. He did not do well as the head coach for the Los Angeles Chargers. But because of the connection he has with Kellen Moore, I think you're set up for a really, really interesting situation where you can have your perfect world of Kellen Moore, Brandon Staley being a long-term coaching duo in New Orleans. Like, it's reminiscent of how the Chiefs are operating with Spags and Andy Reid. Like, you have a great defensive mind, you have a great offensive mind. You're able to go about every year not changing the main parts of your coaching staff, your lead offensive and your lead defensive guy. Like, I think that this is a really, really good situation. I think this is good news. And for what it's worth, I know there hasn't been many updates around the coaching cycle around the New Orleans Saints, but I think that that is a good thing for the black and gold. Now, what were your thoughts on Brandon Staley as Brandon Staley's first year as the defensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints? I mean, he turned this team around. He had that defense flying by the end of the year. I was really, really impressed, and I'm eager to see more from Brandon Staley's defense. But I want to hear from you. Sound off down in the comment section. What did you think is Brandon Staley as your defensive coordinator? Now, last piece of good news that we're going to talk about. I mean, again, there's a laundry list of good things to be excited about as a Saints fan, but the belief in Tyler Shough internally is extremely real. And when you talk about the New Orleans Saints in their offseason as a whole, the two biggest questions that every franchise that's successful in the National Football League can answer are, do you have your head coach and do you have your quarterback? Yes and yes. The New Orleans Saints, at least this offseason, and arguably throughout Tyler Shough's rookie contract, can operate under the belief that Shough is your franchise, or at least he's the QB right now, and he's your starter, and he's somebody that you can build around and hopefully turn into your franchise quarterback. And I know that he's 26 years old, but guys, I don't really care. I mean, he's mature. He has the intangibles. He's a leader. He's a grown man. I think that when it comes to Tyler Shough, there's not just belief from the fan base. There's not just belief from the roster. There's belief in the front office as well. Evidence from Kellen Moore and Mickey Loomis here. Moore saying Tyler's done an awesome job throughout this entire process. He's gotten a ton better. He's taken advantage of a bunch of opportunities, and we're excited to have a full offseason to build. And I think when you talk about Tyler Shough, the belief in the building isn't that he's going to have a sophomore slump. I actually think he's going to skyrocket and really take the league by storm next year, especially when you give him more weapons at his disposal, when you put a better situation around him, when you fix the offensive line. You get another year of Kellen Moore, who also was a rookie this last year. You get another year to truly go from I'm prepping to get drafted, just try to get to the league, for I am now solidified as a starting quarterback. It is my responsibility, it is my role to learn and take over this offense and be the leader for this franchise. Like, those are very two ways you prepare during the offseason, and I think the Saints are set up for success for at least this one. Now, Mickey Loomis also has belief in Tyler Shough, saying they're excited about Tyler. But we have to remember, he hasn't had 17 starts yet, so we're going to go into next season with these high expectations, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we also have to temper that by the fact that he is a second-year quarterback, and he has had less than a full season to start. So we've got to keep that in mind as we go forward. There are building blocks here, and we cannot skip any steps. That is the key here. Do not skip steps. You have an opportunity to do something you haven't done in a very long time. Operate with a rookie contract at the quarterback position that will be very, very beneficial and pay massive dividends to the roster as a whole. You can spend all of the money you originally were spending on quarterbacks and other players and veteran guys and void contracts. You can shed some of that. You can move forward, and you can build this thing the right way. And I do think Mickey Loomis makes a good point. He hasn't even had a full season to start. So, yeah, expectations are high, and that's okay. But don't also sit here and say he's going to go win the Super Bowl. I know that's rich coming from me. He is going to go win the Super Bowl. But I will say, when it comes to Tyler Shough, the New Orleans Saints in their offseason, they are moving in the right direction. You got a lot of good news. You have a lot of great things going on with this organization, and I'm really excited for this offseason to really get underway. Final thoughts here, as we do on every video. The Saints, in my opinion, I've said it before, I've said it again, and I will continue to harp on it. This is the best position that they have been in since Drew Brees retired. I know that we thought we had some hope with Jameis Winston. What could have been? I know when we signed Derek Carr, there was optimism, and I was one of those people who was excited about it. I know when we had Spencer Rattler take over, we were all really excited. And I know when Tyler Shough was drafted, a lot of us were a little bit questionable about the pick. However, I think that the New Orleans Saints have an opportunity to really do this rebuild a very, very interesting way. fast track it, and get back on top of the NFC very, very soon. Now, predict the Saints record in 2026. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. My name is Trizzy Trace Gerard. You're watching Saints Now. I think the Saints are at least going to get 10 wins next year, but I want to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. For my guy, Loco Lopez, y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.